In the case of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, which is, I think, the 5th chapter in this, I do exactly the same thing. I paint a present-day sketch, which is actually about the present-day country of Belarus. The second section deals with the history of the Grand Duchy from its beginnings in the mists of prehistory until it was destroyed at the partitions of Poland and Lithuania in 1795. And the third, rather large section is a description of the legacy of this Grand Duchy, what was left behind, and it's quite a complicated story. Here I think I should emphasize the enormous expanses of time and space which this story of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania covers. This was no little corner of European history. It's a great big chunk of territory and of time. Just to run through the time, there's I think 4 periods: prehistory, there's the second period where the Baltic Lithuanians up here near the Baltic coast fused with the White Ruthenians, the Belarusians, to create a new entity, the first Grand Duchy. The third period is when the Grand Duke of Lithuania becomes King of Poland, and you get a personal union of Poland and Lithuania. And then the fourth period, from 1572 until the destruction of the state, you have the constitutional union of Poland and Lithuania, the so-called Rzeczpospolita or Commonwealth. So we're dealing with centuries of time. We're also dealing with enormous expanses of territory from the Baltic all the way to the Black Sea.
The previous slide.
The previous slides. We've got the Black Sea. I think have we seen that? That's the. All right.
Yeah.
We come right down to, i.e., from what is now the coastland of Lithuania to the coastland of Ukraine, city of Odessa, which didn't exist in the time of the Grand Duchy, but was nonetheless part of this story. And there are, again, 4 parts of territory that belong to the story. On the one hand, the homeland of the Baltic Lithuanians in the north, then the principal area of concentration of the White Ruthenians, who are Slavs, then the main part of Kievan Rus is Kiev, and right down on the Black Sea steppes, which were briefly ruled by the Grand Duchy in the 15th century. I've seen the name of Dirka applied to that. Between the Crimean Tatars and the main part of the Ottoman Empire further farther west. In all of this time and space, we have, again, a number of very important cultural and political shifts. I mentioned briefly the fusion of the Baltic Lithuanians and the White Ruthenians to create the first Grand Duchy. There was, after 1385, the union between the Grand Duchy and Poland, you had a huge influx of Polish influence, so much so that the ruling nobility of the Grand Duchy was, to a large extent, Polonized. And then in the final stage, after the 16th century, you had the creation of a distinct political community, in which the nobility of Poland and Lithuania formed one political community and developed very distinct traditions of its own. And then in 1795, this enormous, interesting, fascinating state is destroyed by force. And there is a residue, the most important part of the residue being people, the population of Poland, Lithuania, and here we're dealing with the Grand Duchy. The population became stateless. They lost the state, the ruler, the system under which they'd lived for centuries. And they became subjects, willy-nilly, of the Russian Empire. And in this period, from, should we say, the end of the 18th century to the beginning of the 20th century, 5 national movements took root, which is essentially created 5 new modern nations, which either had not existed previously or had not existed consciously, according to your theories of nationhood. And these 5, of course, were the Lithuanians, speakers of Lithuanian. Language, I should say, is a key factor in the creation of these new nationalities. And to be Lithuanian became, which it hadn't been before, defined by people who spoke the Lithuanian Baltic language. Similarly, Polishness, which had previously been defined by membership of the ruling nobility, the Szlachta, Polishness became attached to everyone, whatever their social status, who spoke Polish. Similarly, a Belarusian nation came into conscious being among the people who spoke Belarusian. A Ukrainian nation is created from people who speak Ukrainian. Interestingly, there was no, although Belarusian and Ukrainian are related languages, there was not a joint Ruthenian nation appeared. I.e. the Belarusians and Ukrainians never joined forces.